What, you're going back home to give birth? I asked incredulously. My mother-in-law shot me a snide grin and remarked, "Why don't you just stay there forever? I don't want to see your freeloading face." Her words stung, but I managed a composed reply. "Sure, take care then." My name is Flo, a 34-year-old professional. I've been dating Barry for 2 years now. We first met at a party where our shared taste in music sparked an instant connection. After exchanging numbers, we started spending our evenings together, discussing everything from favorite tunes to work challenges over drinks at our local bar. Being with Barry was always a joy, and time with him flew by. Eventually, we became a couple, and life has never felt more fulfilling. Despite our busy work schedules, we cherish our weekends together. The anticipation of seeing Barry motivates me to work harder and be more productive during the week. Our relationship had been a cornerstone of my career success. After a year of dating, we decided to take the next step and moved in together. Both of us were serious about our future and the prospect of marriage. Being with him brought a sense of calm and joy, solidifying our mutual desire to marry. Living together before engagement turned out to be a wise choice. It allowed us to understand each other's lifestyles, strengths, and quirks. A year later, my eagerness to marry him remained steadfast, and I eagerly awaited his proposal. Though he had his own timing, I couldn't deny feeling a bit impatient lately. Then, unexpectedly, he invited me to dinner at an upscale restaurant. It wasn't a special occasion, yet I couldn't help but wonder if this was the moment. After work, I arrived at the restaurant, nervous yet tingling with excitement. Upon seeing him, I noticed he was even more nervous than I was. His palpable anxiety strangely eased my own. Despite feeling sorry for his nerves, his awkward and tense greeting actually made me chuckle inwardly. Then came the meal, and throughout, he was visibly nervous. As we finished the main course, he called my name softly, "Chloe." His direct gaze made me slightly apprehensive. "Chloe, you're the most wonderful person I want to cherish. I hope you feel the same about me. So, will you marry me?" With those heartfelt words, he presented a ring. My answer was already clear. Yes, I can't wait for our life together. With our engagement sealed, I was overwhelmed with happiness. However, life soon became hectic, and the joy was fleeting. We had to meet each other's families, organize family gatherings, and begin wedding preparations. Balancing all this alongside our demanding work schedules was a challenge, but Barry and I found ways to carve out time and move forward with our plans. When I introduced Barry to my parents, they took a liking to him right away, impressed by his sincerity. Their approval meant a lot to me, and I was grateful they welcomed our decision to marry. However, when it came time to visit Barry's parents, things took an unexpected turn. "Ah, you're Barry's fiancé. You seem rather plain," remarked Barry's mother, bluntly upon our first meeting. Taken aback by her comment, I felt knocked down. Barry quickly interjected, "Mom, what are you saying? She's the woman I chose." That was pretty rude. I shrugged defensively. "I'm just being honest, you know." Barry's father, Will, stepped in, trying to diffuse the tension. "Enough, that's uncalled for." Despite Barry and his father's attempts to defend me, I couldn't shake off the hurt from R's words. Later, Barry apologized. "Chloe, I'm sorry about my mom. She's always been straightforward, sometimes too much. I've never been comfortable with it either." "Really?" I asked, surprised by his admission. "Yeah, so please don't let her words get to you. If she says anything after we're married, let me know right away. I'll handle it," he assured me earnestly. His words brought me relief. From the moment we started dating, Barry had shown he would protect me, even attempting to shield me during our introduction to his parents. Still, my apprehensions persisted, especially regarding the impending family meeting. I couldn't shake the worry that R would disrespect my parents too. Despite my warnings to Barry, he had assured me he would handle her carefully, and I had even briefed my parents about R's challenging nature, which they were already familiar with from past encounters. The day of the family meeting finally arrived, and my nerves were on edge for entirely different reasons. "Hello, I'm Barry's dad. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for having us," Will greeted warmly, extending a hand to my parents. "We're Chloe's mom and dad," my parents replied politely, trying to keep the atmosphere pleasant. They exchanged pleasantries with Will, but R remained silent, seating herself and ordering a drink without a word. "I'll take a red wine. Looks like we'll need a bit of a drink to make this interesting," she commented casually, her words casting an uncomfortable shadow over the room. My parents were left speechless by R's behavior. Visibly taken aback, both Wilt and Barry, clearly annoyed, swiftly apologized to us for our conduct. And so, the family meeting commenced. My parents and Wilt hit it off right away, engaging in friendly conversation. Throughout the meal, R remained largely focused on her food, but as she became increasingly intoxicated, she started to interject into the conversation. A government job, it may be stable, but the pay isn't anything to brag about. Barry's marrying into such boring people. If they have kids, they'll probably be just as dull, R remarked, crossing a line with her words. That's enough, Wilt intervened, his voice filled with anger. You need to leave now. R appeared defiant, muttering, what's the big deal? I'm just being honest. Wilt escorted R outside and arranged for her to take a cab home. Returning to the restaurant, he and Barry apologized once more for R's behavior. I was relieved that we had reserved a private room. R had proven to be more of a challenge than expected at the wedding. She seemed subdued, likely because Wilt had warned her to behave impeccably or face consequences. Apparently, he had even threatened divorce if she caused any embarrassment, so she kept her comments to herself. Thankfully, the wedding went off without a hitch, and I was grateful for that. Thus, our married life began in earnest. Barry and I had a wonderful relationship, making our life together blissful. We both shared household responsibilities equally to ensure neither of us felt burdened. It was a bonus that Barry excelled in cooking. I always looked forward to his meals. On days when he got caught up at work but still took on the chef's role, we would cook together. This collaboration made our days together as a happy couple all the more enjoyable. Barry made an effort to visit his family home alone as much as possible, mindful of both R and myself. Thanks to this, I was spared any direct snide remarks or confrontations from R. I deeply appreciated Barry's consideration during this time. However, tragedy struck when Wilt suddenly fell ill and passed away. Barry and I rushed to the hospital, but we arrived too late. Dad, Barry exclaimed in disbelief. Wilt's death hit him hard, and R was visibly distraught as well. How could you leave me like this? Despite my strained relationship with R, I couldn't help but empathize with her grief in that moment. I mourned the loss of Wilt, who had always treated me with kindness. In the following days, we found ourselves consumed with funeral arrangements while navigating our own grief. Barry took charge of organizing everything, and I did what I could to support him during this difficult time. The funeral proceeded smoothly, and we felt we had given Wilt a fitting farewell. Life eventually settled back to its routine for Barry and me. While it took time to come to terms with Wilt's passing, we eventually found our footing. Barry appeared determined to move forward with renewed resolve. However, a new challenge emerged unexpectedly. Barry, Chloe, please help me. Our sudden appearance at our doorstep caught us off guard. Mom, what's wrong? Barry asked, clearly unsettled by the unusual atmosphere. R's demeanor softened as she spoke. Since your father passed, I've been feeling terribly lonely every day. Nothing seems to taste right anymore. I just wanted to see the faces of my only family, my son and his wife. Her words seemed genuine, her vulnerability evident. Could you let me stay with you for a little while? She asked, her request tinged with desperation. Barry and I were taken aback by her request. I feel like I'll be crushed by loneliness if things continue like this, she pleaded. We hesitated, but reasoned that a short stay wouldn't hurt. R seemed so fragile. We doubted she had the energy to be hostile towards me. So we agreed to live together, and surprisingly, R behaved maturely. She even took on some household chores. I'm staying in your home. It's the least I can do. Thank you, Flo. You're a lifesaver, she expressed gratefully. Both Barry and I appreciated R's efforts. Life seemed manageable if things stayed this way. However, after about 3 months, R began reverting to her old habits bit by bit. Flo, are you not planning to quit your job? Isn't it normal for wives to stop working? But you've been working all this time. I started to respond, but R's tone grew harsher, indicating she was returning to her old self. I turned to Barry immediately. Okay, we need to talk to Mom and get her to go back to her hometown right away, I said. When Barry confronted R about it, her response was startling. I've already sold the family home, she admitted. Barry and I exchanged shocked glances. Mom, why would you do that without even discussing it with us? That's our family home. I inherited it from your dad. Selling it was my decision, R defended herself. But you should have at least informed us, Barry replied, visibly frustrated. I forgot, sorry. Now I have nowhere else to go, so please don't kick me out, R pleaded. Barry and I were left speechless. Just as we were grappling with this unexpected turn of events, another surprise came our way. I discovered I was pregnant. Verity and I were overjoyed. We had been hoping for a child but had almost given up due to our age, so this was wonderful news. However, the prospect of dealing with R while pregnant added a new layer of complexity to our situation. Recently, she started complaining again. I recounted to Barry, "Why do I have to cook for you too? I'm only staying here because of Barry, not you." Traditionally, it's the wife who handles all the housework, Barry explained. R would cook only for herself and me, and she'd do her laundry but avoid yours. Barry would reprimand her, and she'd feign remorse only to repeat the behavior. I was at my wit's end. Feeling the need to escape, I decided to begin my maternity leave early and return to my parents' home. When I discussed this with Barry, he proposed a solution that we both agreed on, and we began to make arrangements. I promptly informed R of our decision and started preparing to leave. "You're going back home to give birth?" "Yes, I feel it's necessary for a safer childbirth, even though I understand it means leaving household duties behind." Barry supports this decision. Upon hearing this, R smirked and sneered, "Why not just stay at your parents' house forever? I don't want to see your parasitic face around here anyway. I bet even Barry's had enough of you. You don't need to come back to this house anymore." I couldn't help but feel a sense of relief at R's harsh words. "All right then, take care," I replied calmly. I returned to my parents' house, grateful to be with them again after so long. They've been incredibly supportive, allowing me to find peace and comfort during this time. A month later, Barry arrived at my parents' house with news. "I finally got the green light from work. I found us a new place." "That's fantastic." Barry's plan was for us to transition to remote work, which his company had approved. Thoughtfully, he rented an apartment near my parents' home, and we decided to move there. Barry then terminated the lease on the room R had been staying in and finalized our move to the new apartment. Apparently, R was quite unsettled by this, and she called me. "Hey Chloe, where are you?" "I'm at our new place with Barry." "New place? Where?" R's voice sounded urgent and somewhat panicked. "I'll let you know, but I have to be honest. The lease here is being canceled and everything's being moved out. I can't stay here anymore," I explained calmly. "Barry and I are starting fresh somewhere else." "But Barry said he's cutting ties with me. He doesn't want to talk to you anymore," I added, trying to make her understand. "So, you were just pretending to be nice to stay here, huh? This was your plan because you couldn't make any money from selling the house you got from Wilt, right?" R accused sharply. "How did you find out?" "You were telling the neighbors how frustrated you were that the house your husband left had no value. Then suddenly, it became a lot for sale. People just can't keep quiet about things like that. Give me Barry back. I'm that kid's parent, so I have the right to live with him. As I've said before, he doesn't want to see you, and I won't pressure him into something he's uncomfortable with." Upon hearing this, R exploded with irrational anger. "Who do you think you are? Acting all high and mighty when you're just a broke, freeloading plain wife? That's not a nice thing to say, but it's true." "Well, I don't think our paths will cross much in the future, so it doesn't really concern me," I replied calmly. "But let me clarify something. Alongside my full-time job, I also have a side gig, and I actually earn more than Barry," I continued. "Oh, really? What's this side gig?" R asked skeptically. "I initially studied web design, so I've been taking on projects in that field. With both my full-time salary and freelance work, I'm bringing in about $7,000 a month," I explained. "What? That much? That's more than Wilt used to make." I was left speechless upon learning about my true financial situation. Clearly, she hadn't expected that her underestimated wife was earning that much. "But none of this concerns you. R. Barry has cut ties with you, and I'll be distancing myself even further," I asserted firmly. "Wait a minute. If you're making that kind of money, maybe you could lend me a hand," R suggested. I didn't hesitate. I ended the call and blocked her number. It was a relief to expose R's true intentions and leave her feeling regretful. Knowing I wouldn't have to deal with her again brought me a sense of peace. She had no knowledge of where my parents lived or where I worked. With Barry working remotely and our new address undisclosed to her, the likelihood of R tracking us down was minimal. I've heard that R has always struggled with overspending, and whatever inheritance Wilt left behind has dwindled to almost nothing. She attempted to sell the house but received a low offer, leaving her in financial trouble. However, old habits die hard. A neighbor from our former neighborhood reached out to Barry and informed us that our spending habits and reliance on payday loans have plunged her into debt. She's been asking neighbors for loans without success, leading to a challenging financial situation. It seems like karma has caught up with her. Meanwhile, Barry and I no longer have to worry about R intruding into our lives. We're enjoying a peaceful existence, splitting our time between our own home and my parents' place as I prepare for the birth of our child. Once the baby arrives, Barry and I are looking forward to nurturing our family and cherishing our time together.